That's where it started. It started down below in Peter Street, and then it eventually came up here, you know. And my parents seen me. My great grandmother had a fish shop, and my mother was in the shop helping her. And my father's father used to be in the fish too. He was from Sheep Point, and that's how he got court. And that's funny, isn't it? And he was going away to sea at the time, and then they got married, and she came up here and opened a fish shop up here. They got married and they opened up here. But that's not yesterday now.
Yeah.
You know?
Was that Peter Street that's gone now?
That's Peter, yeah, Peter Street now. Dunn's took over. Dunn's bought him out, you see. And when Dunn's bought him out, then they had the option. They were going to actually buy the hairdressers below Coll cases, and they had the key for that, right? But what happened then was they had no back entrance. Whereas there's no back entrance here, you can come up here and open up the back and come in with the fish. So that's what they decided, and with the fish especially back then, in them times, been fishing out through the shop, wasn't on. So they decided to go for here. And then they came up here, and they'll be here, what, 51, 52 years. But I'm actually in now 41 years myself. I came in here, I done a leaving cert, I finished the leaving cert in 1974. And after the leaving cert, then I came in here, and I'm here ever since. Mum, did you do a bit of salmon? But there's some changes in the design. So back then, when I came in here, it used to be the fast on Friday. Can you remember that now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you work all the week up to the Friday. People would be kind of, they wouldn't have fish during the week. And then all of a sudden, you could get the fish in and you do all the week, and suddenly then with that fast. And people had to eat it because people were so religious in that way. And you'd be busy for the Friday. But now things have changed drastically. People got a lot more health conscious. Do you know what I mean? And people are eating fish now a lot more. They're eating it twice a week, the majority of people. They're eating it on a Tuesday, they might eat it again on a Friday. People are watching their diet and their health better than what they used to years ago. But there's some changes in it, like in the length of time. Because I can remember here, like one time herons was a fantastic seller here. You buy in herons, people would buy them. Now people don't want herons at all anymore. Too many bones in it, you know. The salmon was a fantastic seller.
Is there any other kind of big changes that you can think of over the years?
Oh, there's massive changes to, like. I remember here in one time being in Tramore East when the auctions were in the peak, like, and there could be anything up to 24, 25 buyers down there. Coming down. Buyers used to come from Cork, Galway. They come down. Now you'd be lucky, let's say, they have about 7 buyers. Things have changed that way. Supermarkets kind of have taken over, and the small person, like the small, is dying out. Do you know what I mean? People now like want to park in the supermarket into a car park, go in and do their shopping all together. You know, and then you have so much competition with the supermarkets, like that you just can't compete. The only thing I will say about the fish, like that people like to know where it's coming from. You know, same with some of the butchers, like you get some of the good Tramore bit of Rustin below down Flynn, Bernard Flynn and that. People know you're buying good meat and he'll always survive, you know.
And was the fish on the Friday, was that a big issue before? What was the...
Oh, that was a massive, like, that was like, you know, it was religion then was so strong at that time. People would eat fish on a Friday, and that was it. They wouldn't eat. It was like, say, we used to have 2 massive days during the year. It was Ash Wednesday and Good Friday, because they were black fast. You could eat nothing else. But now people don't even know it's Ash Wednesday. Do you know? They forgot all about it. Like. They just, people don't strip. As you know yourself with religion, you know, mass, people don't go to mass anymore. Sorry about that. Like you were talking about religion. I remember years ago when I was small, 6 or 7, my father had a brother and he had a priest. His son was a priest, you know. And when we used to go down to Camp Isle to visit him, he'd always tell you when you go down, like, to get up and kind of want to spout him, and if you met him on the footpath, stand off the footpath, step off and let him have the right of the way. You know, that kind of, the way things are kind of, haven't really, you know what I mean? You look at it now, like I have some lovely customers come in here in the shop to me now, lovely, really nice elderly people, and they're extremely religious, but yet they don't go to Mass anymore, because they find it so hard from what has happened in the church to go to Mass. That's not saying they're not religious, they're not praying, but you find it very hard to go into a church where there's a priest that you know.
Is that just in light of scandals and stuff? Or?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All the scandals going on, all that went on. You know, I still go to Mass actually. I still do attend Mass, but you'd have to question it at times. What I find very hard is to say that so many priests did actually know what was going on, that children were being interfered with, and nothing was done about it, and left to go. You know, and I find that hard to believe. Now, of course, you have some lovely priests, and you always will, some genuine ones. But for any priest that knew that children were being interfered with and did nothing about it, it's hard to believe. Just wouldn't, you know.
And do you remember reading about, and all he just said a minute ago, about the parishes in Waterford?
Yeah, sure. Oh, I have 3 children. My eldest boy now is getting married the 29th this month. Brian, he's 31. And the 3 of mine were christened down at St. Patrick's. The St. Patrick's, I think, was the oldest church in Waterford. I think the Polish have it now, as far as I know. I think the Polish have it now. But, oh God above, then like, you know, you wouldn't miss Mass, and you'd make sure you'd be on time for Mass, and the church of St. Patrick's would be full on a Sunday morning, 9:15 Mass, and then it could be 11:30 Mass. But sure, St. Patrick's is gone now. It's not a Catholic church anymore, really. It's for the Polish now. You know?
And would the parishes, the area of each church, how was that? What way did that go? Like how?
I'm sure it has changed completely.
What was it like before? I mean.
Oh, a lot before. People were more kind of. People were very, very. I don't know, a lot more friendly. They'd meet like on a Sunday. You go to Mass on a Sunday morning. You'd meet. And you go outside the church and you could spend 15 minutes chatting. The place would be packed. But now, sure, you don't meet anybody anymore going to Mass. Do you know what I mean? You meet the old people. But the young people don't just attend. And that's the sad thing about it. And I think back in that time too, people were very, like I had an aunt, you know, she lived over in Stephen Street. And you'd be given I think just twice a year you gave your donation to the church. And what she used to give was unreal, you know what I mean? Unreal, like, for the priests and that. That's gone as well, people just, you know, that's the sad thing about it too, like. But when you look at the changes in the street here on Patrick Street now, just in Patrick Street, I can remember here being in Patrick Street when I was really small, like, and there was 4 or 5 sweet shops were here. There was Gerald Nugent was next door to me. He had a vegetable shop, cum sweet shop, half and half more or less. Then you had Mrs. Nugent, who was on the corner. You had Mrs. Moyden across the road on the other corner. Can you remember any of them? No.
I remember my aunt's mother had a shop here on Patrick Street. Sweet shop as well,
Power down up forward, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you had Mrs. O'Keefe across the road, Tommy O'Keefe now. They had a sweet shop over here as well.
That's right across from the cinema?
Yes.
Yes, I remember that.
Can you remember that?
Yeah.
You know, like in the one area, there was 4 sweet shops, and they all got a living. They all survived. You know, and now when you look at it, like, there's not one of them in the street, you know what I mean? The way things have changed drastically, like. You know, that's what the sad thing about it, like. Henry Malloy was up here at the corner where the shoe shop is now. Henry was there first, and then they moved, Malloy's used to be black, and then Malloy's moved from there to across the road now, where the building was over here now across from us. And they had a meat shop over there. And what used to happen is people either come to me and go over there, come to me. Do you know? It was kind of. And the town used to. Oh, Waterford City used to be buzzing, like. You know, Patrick Street, like, was a massive, a very main street, like. I say, apart from Broad Street, like, it was the busy street in the town. But sure, things have changed. Like, I was in here only yesterday with my wife. I came in through. I was come up to the town, so many shops locked and houses all boarded up. I don't know if it'll ever come back. I can never see it coming back in my time anyway.
The area down below where City Square is now, what would that have been like?
Well, that was it. That was a London Square. There was a, when you go down from Dunn's Doors there now, they used to have, there used to be, Mary Jo Troy was down there. She had a sweet shop, a milk shop and a sweet shop down there. And there was a jeweller shop next to it, and there was a fish shop there as well, Corvigs and Quinlan's. He'd be related up to Hilary Quinlan. Do you know Quinlan? They were somewhere connected. And that square then opened up, and there used to be old houses there. There used to be selling clothes and that. And so that was all knocked when the development happened with Roach stores. They bought, they bought the whole lot out, and all the houses were knocked. And, you know, because that's gone back a long time now. I can remember that. That was going back in the early 70s, I say. Be more, be early 80s, I say, when that was knocked.
And with the fish shop, would you have had, what kind of people would you have had? Can you remember some of the different people who would have come into the shop over the years?
Actually, Jeannie Mac, to be someone like, can you remember Martin Hunt?
Yeah.
Remember Martin, didn't you?
What are you talking about, Martin?
Martin Hunt. Right.
Can you tell us about Martin?
Oh, Martin was a queer fella. He really was, but he was harmless in his own way, but he was cool. But Martin used to come up and down the street, as you know, he'd often wear a bandage on his head and he'd have blood on the bandages and he'd be carrying a hurley, so someone had to give him a bang for a hurley. But he came into the shop here one Thursday evening, it was very, very busy. And he was into Hitler, he liked the Germans, he liked talking about Hitler. And he was educated, although he was a pure, but he was very educated in his own little way, and he was talking to a customer at the counter. She was a lady, a lovely woman. And he was talking about having a perfect conversation, there was no problem. And all of a sudden he stood back from the counter and he started off shouting about Hitler. And she looked at me and she looked at him and she looked at me and he kind of said, what the Jesus is happening here with him? And Martin started doing a dance on the floor of the shop talking about Hitler. I never stopped, never laughed so much, but the poor woman got an off fight because she actually didn't know the two sides of him, you know? But I lived in Stephen Street over there. My mother's house in Stephen Street, across over there. And opposite Stephen Street, there's the coffee. It's a restaurant there now, right opposite my mother's house. And it used to be Johnny Powers. They used to sell apples in Kilcorn to soccer matches years and years ago. But at the side there's a little side entrance, a gate. And the Powers used to use it for putting their bikes, their push bikes and that in there. And they just closed the door, there'd be no problem. But I was out courting one night later, jeez, it was an awful night, about 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock, and coming home. And I parked straight outside Power's house, right across my mother's house. It was miserable now. But what I didn't realise, I got out of the car to lock the car, but what I didn't realise, Martin was at going into the little doorway, into the little alleyway to see what was in there. And he saw me pulling up, you see, and when I got out of the car, I turned, it was miserable, I turned him. When I turned, he was actually straight on top of me now, straight, face to face. And Martin, when he used to get excited, used to fall from the mouth. But he was on top of me. I can still see him standing in front of me now, you know. And he said to me, where are you going now? He said, this other night. Shouldn't you be in bed for yourself? He said to me. But the shock I got, you know, I wasn't expecting it. It was miserable and turning around. He was right on top of me. But Asher, there were so many different people over the years. You know, can there was the Sullivans down in one of the squares. Did you hear about them, the blacksmiths?
No.
Yeah, my father used to have, I still have fishmongers, but he used to make the rings. There's rings that go around the pole that you put the net on, to drop up and down, to tie it onto. But there was a blacksmith, and there were brothers. Where they were living was out in Johnstown, next to the mansion house, right next door to the mansion house. There was 3 brothers in it all together, as far as I know, but I only knew 2. Like, so it could be wrong, it could be only 2 brothers, but I thought there was 3. But where they had their place for the horses was over there. You know the apple market? Yeah, you know laying me down from the apple market when you go down to break out onto
John's Lane, is it?
They were in there on the left hand side there. They used to have the no place for doing the horses and that, you know, that were two lovely men, two really nice, you know.
What kind of horses?
All just ordinary, I think they were kind of, at that time as far as I know, farmers used to come into town and they used to bring stuff around with the corporation, used to have the horses pulling the post office that used to go around with the mail too, I think. And used to be just doing the horseshoes for a farm, you know. And they do certain things as well, like they make anchors and that for fishermen and that. That's what they used to do.
Were they actually way down the lane, or were they actually on the out market itself?
No, on down the lane. Do you know where the apple market is now? There's a lane down behind. Do you know the pub that's down on the corner? What's the name of that? Is it no, not the Castle part. On the other side now. No, when you're opposite, another one on the.
The hub it's called now.
It's the hub.
Yeah, it used to be there.
See you pass down the hub, then there's a lane that go down there.
Spring Garden, isn't it?
It's Spring Garden, that's where you are. Now you have it, spot on. That's where you are, down Spring Garden and Addy on the left hand side. That's where you are, yeah.
Can you recollect any other characters around Waterford?
That
Or any other notary publics?
oh God above. There's so many of my times. It's when you're put on the spot, it's hard to think of them, isn't it? It's when you're gone now, you suddenly say, Jesus, I remember him, you know. It's a offhand now. But I had some funny individuals who used to come into the shop over the years. Fellas that, there was a well-known businessman I knew here, but he wasn't, but he was a well-known man in town here. And he used to knock on the door on the Thursday morning, right? And this is genuine, I'll make you laugh at this. But Henry Malloy had a meat shop across the road, you see, and Henry used to, we were very friendly, Henry and myself and that. But at that time I used to put a fish display in the window, actually out in the window, you see. And this man used to wear a long black coat, and he'd knock on the window, and I'd open up the shop, and he'd come in, and we'd be chatting away, and he might say to me, and Jimmy said, would you have a few bones for the cat? And I'd come out here and get him a few bones, you see. Then Henry for the fish, and then he said to me, Jim, come give me another bag here, a spare bag. And I said, no problem. So I get a spare bag and give it to him, and that was it. And then one morning Henry caught me. He said, Jimmy said, I have a good to tell you. And I said, what? Do you know, he said, when you go in the back, he said, you go into the back for some reason, he said, your man, he said, actually takes fish out of the window. He actually leans into the window, he said, takes fish out of the window, and he puts it into his pocket. And I looked at it, and I said to Joe, I'm telling you, I've seen him do it umpteen times. And he was right, because I used to be so busy, I'd go out the window and I wouldn't check the window. Do you know what I mean? But he used to take, and then he'd ask me for a plastic bag, so when you go up the hill, he'd take the fish out of his pocket. Funny, isn't it? Hard to believe. You know. And then I decided, when he used to come on a Thursday morning, I pulled off and I wouldn't put the fish in the window till he was gone. Then he used to come in here. And he'd come in here and he'd be talking to me, and I'd have the fish on the trays like that. And every so often he'd be talking to me, he'd be saying to me, here you be. That's a genuine, he'd be waiting to take the fish and put in his pocket. He was a lovely man apart from that, actually. I suppose it's an addiction he had.
Another assets now, we should think of cover. I suppose and that's the thing, like when you were growing up in Waterford, as
Yeah.
a young man coming up, what was the city like to look at? What was you think walking around?
Sure, it was a lot busier. Do you know what I mean? There was an awful lot busier. The township was buzzing. Then you had you see, but people didn't. But what people don't realise, when you lost the glass factory, you lost Waterford City. I genuinely believe, because I think when the glass factory closed, it was unreal the amount of people that lost jobs and went out of the city, and the whole city out. Now I know people might say the foundry and the paper mills, and they all had, but the glass factory was massive. It was massive. The amount of people in the glass. At one time I was supplying them with a bit of fish, and they wouldn't take an awful lot of fish, but you could ring me in the afternoon, and they might say, Jim, could you have a board meeting? We want 20 pieces of salmon, 20 portions. Is there any chance you could drop it out? And at that time I think you might finish at 4 o'clock. And you'd be trying to get out before 4 because simply, if you got caught on Paddy Brown's on road with the glass factory, it was like fellas coming out of Croke Park after a football match. Or it was packed. The amount of people that would be just rushing out the gate, and you could be there for 10 minutes trying to get into the glass factory to make a little delivery, you know. Like, I can remember going back, and it's going back to football and soccer, but going to Kilcorn Park back in the early 70s. And the amount of people that would be packed going into the football match. Waterford was booming then, you know. The amount of people that would leave Waterford on a Sunday to go up to Limerick to a football match to follow Waterford, to follow the Blues, is unreal. But everybody was working, you see. And the funny thing about it, back in them days as well, everybody were equal, you know. When I mean equal, people hadn't an awful lot, but they were happier. And everybody just wanted to have a few drinks and enjoy things, and that was it. Then people got carried away and they got mortgages, got a second home, or they got a holiday home, and all this is what crippled everybody, you know. Instead of being just happy with what you had. Like I see the shop here before the bang actually happened, come back 8 or 9 years ago. Nice ordinary people come into me in the shop and I might say to them, are you going on holidays? You know? And say, oh Jim, we bought a place out in Spain, or we have a place out in Spain. I said to myself, Jesus, how can they afford to have it? You know, best of luck to them, don't get me wrong. But in the end, it crippled everybody, didn't it? You know? And everybody's still paying for it today. Do you know what I mean? All our children are paying for it as well, and that's the way it's gone.
And to look at Waterford city centre,
yeah.
If you were like to jump in the time machine, jump back to Waterford city centre, walking around, what would...
Well, first of all, I can remember De La Salle Centre over there. Can you remember that? No? Yeah, De La Salle Centre. And you go over there, and they used to have a dance, I think, there on a Friday night. You might have a dance there on a Saturday night or Sunday night. It was packed. All the people, the bar, there was a lovely big bar over there, snooker tables over there, squash courts over there. The best players in Ireland used to come over there on competitions. They used to have the Waterford Crystal Open. And the top squash players in Ireland would come for the weekend. It'd be around the same time as you'd have the festival, the 19th of September, I think it's the festival, the Opera Festival down in, and it'd be packed. The amount of people that come into the city alone for that. You go over there then on a Saturday night and the dance hall would be, and the whole, like, Stephen Street, Barrack Street, would be full. The amount of people. Now you go over to Stephen Street, you look at the glass of the De La Salle Centre and it's gone, it's all knocked down. And, you know, just look at things in general, like you look at the brewery, like over there at the end of the street. I remember that, the brewery now is extremely busy. The amount of drink that used to be going in and out of it. It's locked up as well, there's no one happening over there. Okay, it's supposed to be a shopping centre going there, but I don't know when it's going to happen.
I'm going to go there. And what would have been the big entertainment at the social centre?
In De La Salle over?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just used to have a live band every Friday night and Saturday night and Sunday night, I think. I think there's 3 nights a week they used to have it.
But this would be after the show band era, wouldn't it?
Oh, that'd be after the show band era, yeah. Like back in my time we used to have Catch 21. You're not going back that far. Can you go back that far? Can she? Can she go back? You can't go back that far, can you?
I think I'm not sure.
Back to Catch 21. You used to be down the tower on a Tuesday night. And was it Tuesday night or Wednesday night? You used to be on it again on a Sunday night. And you had to be over 21 to, you're supposed to have to be over 21 to go into it. But once you were 18 or 19 you get in, you know. It used to be packed, like. It used to be just packed. Like I see my daughter now, Ema is about 27 now. And she was in Dublin the weekend. She's doing she's in a relationship with a lad. But she was just saying a friend of hers is living in Dublin, they're up there for the weekend. And she was saying to me, Daddy, she said, to meet somebody out now, it's unreal. It's very hard to meet somebody nice out in a pub or anything, because they're more interested in drinking than anything else. Do you know what I mean? It's very hard to meet somebody. I don't know that, but you might know better yourself. But that's what she says to me in general, the way things are gone. There's no kind of, you don't meet like years ago. You know?
From Frank Doherty, we were talking to there before lunch, and he was saying that they go to dances, and this would have been early show band days, so.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about drinking, it was about meeting people.
You see,
And the boys and the girls, and you got someone to dance, and it was a social occasion.
of course, that's like even catch 22, like going back that time and in my time, the drink, like there wouldn't be any much drinking in it. You know, the dances finished at 1:30 or 2 o'clock, and people would come out and you get there was no such thing as taxis. You either walked or you drove, and that was it. And there was no trouble. I often see my own daughter now. I often was when she was 17, 18 or 19, I collect her down below. And Jesus, it's unreal, like, what you see. You sit in the car, you be waiting for her to come out, and you see what's going on, the carry on that's going on. You know, times have just changed. They haven't changed for the good. That's the sad thing about it.
When did the Catch 21 have been happening?
That was back in the 70s. About 71, 72, and it went up to up into the 80s, the early 80s. And then it just died. Just stopped.
I think that's good, Jimmy. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
No problem.